Politico, 25th of July 2023, China covertly supplies Russia with enough equipment to outfit an army. China, the new Axis power, is in full-scale conflict with the developed world. Images on the Chinese company's website depict a tall, Caucasian man evaluating body armor at the factory, with a crew cut and a flattened nose. Shanghai H Win, a producer of military-grade protective gear, boasted on its website in March that this spring, one of our customers came to our company to confirm the style and quantity of bulletproof vests, and carefully tested the quality of our vests. The buyer immediately confirmed the order quantity of bulletproof vests and subsequent purchase intention. The happy customer's nationality is unknown, but there's a good chance he was Russian. Russian buyers have declared orders for hundreds of thousands of bulletproof vests and helmets made by Shanghai H Win, and the items listed in the documents match those in the supplier's online catalog. Such evidence demonstrates that China is pushing the envelope to provide Russia with enough non-lethal but military-useful weaponry to significantly affect President Vladimir Putin's 17-month conflict with Ukraine. Despite Beijing's calls for peace, the protective equipment would be enough to outfit many of the soldiers that Russia has mobilized since the invasion. Then there are thermal, optical sights for nighttime targeting of the adversary and drones that can be employed to drop grenades or direct artillery fire. These supplies reveal a gap in the size of China in Western efforts to stymie Putin's war machine. Selling so-called dual-use technology that can be used for both military and civilian purposes gives Western authorities seeking an excuse not to challenge a significant economic force like Beijing just the right amount of plausible deniability. The volume of dual-use products that China ships to Russia during times of war is supported by customs data. While Ukraine is also a consumer of China, the statistics reveal a steep decline in its imports of most of the equipment discussed in this article. Russia has imported drones from China for more than $100 million this year, 30 times more than Ukraine. According to Chinese and Ukrainian customs data, Chinese shipments of ceramics, a material used in body armor, soared by 69% to Russia to reach more than $225 million. In comparison, they decreased by 61% to Ukraine to earn just $5 million. What is very clear is that China, for all its claims that it is a neutral actor, is supporting Russia's positions in this war, said Helena Lagarde, a lead analyst specializing in Chinese defense and foreign policy at the Mercator Institute for China Studies in Berlin. If China crossed the line and sold weapons or military hardware to Russia, Lagarde said she would anticipate the EU to impose secondary sanctions targeting enablers of Putin's war on terror. Body armor, thermal imaging, and even commercial drones that are suitable for offensive frontline operations, she continued, are unlikely to elicit a reaction. Then there's this situation that we're in at the moment, all these dual-use components or equipment and how you handle those, Lagarde said. I don't think the EU would be able to agree to sanctions on that, the speaker said. A lot of trading businesses are looking for us because of the war and asking, are you making this kind of vest? Shanghai H Win, like other Chinese manufacturers of dual-use equipment, has seen a rise in business. We got a lot of calls, a salesperson said over the phone to Politico. When asked who the man in the pictures was and where he was from, the representative initially claimed Shanghai H Win wasn't permitted to export directly to Russia without a certificate from the Chinese military and documentary proof of its final customer. However, when pressed further, the representative denied that he was a customer, even though the website claimed as much. He is a client of our client. We are unable to ask him, where are you from simply? But I suppose he's from Europe, perhaps he's from Ukraine, Poland, or Russia. I'm not sure. Shortly after the phone call, Shanghai H Win removed the post from its website that featured the mystery shopper. The purchasers are who? So who are those clients exactly? Anyone with access to the Russian internet and knowledge of international customs classifications can search a registry of compliance declarations for evidence of deals, including importers, suppliers, and product descriptions. In a previous report, Politico investigated these records and discovered proof that American-made sniper shots were traveling to Russia, easily accessible on the underground market. The declarations effectively make it possible to import items without the maker's direct consent by allowing the ultimate customer to confirm that the products are genuine. The creator of the goods might not even be aware that they are headed to Russia if traded through an intermediary. However, the registry is searchable, making it simple to identify the final purchasers of the Chinese kit. One is Silva, a business headquartered in the outlying Buryatia region of eastern Siberia. It submitted disclosures in January of this year outlining purchases of 100,000 helmets and 100,000 bulletproof vests. Who is the producer? Chinese H Win. Such importers frequently have characteristics of one-day firms, as shell companies are known in Russia, set up by actors who want to hide their dealings. They frequently have few employees and assets, are new, and are listed at residential addresses that are not readily identifiable. A Google Street View search of Silva's address in Ulan-Ude, the capital of Buryatia, leads visitors to a rundown apartment building. According to public records, Silva was only registered last September. It reported zero revenues for 2022. Politico tried to contact Silva, but the phone number listed on its filings rang off the hook, and a message sent to its email address bounced. Before that, in January, Rika declared a shipment of helmets from a company called Deacon Shanghai, which shares an address with Shanghai H Win. Another representative for Shanghai H Win said the two companies are affiliated. A woman who answered the phone at Rika said, "We buy in Russia, not in China." The company didn't respond to a follow-up email from Politico. The denial is hardly credible given that Rika's search of declarations turned up deals for thermal, optical equipment from China in addition to the protective gear, and customs data accessed by Politico showed more than 220 shipments for thermal optics and protective equipment worth $11 million since the start of the war. Rika also prominently features Chinese-made night sights on its website. According to papers dated last November 24, another Russian company named Legitelecom, whose website indicates it to be a Moscow freight forwarding firm, also appears as a buyer of 100,000 items of headgear and 100,000 suits of outerwear from Deacon Shanghai. "This is a commercial activity, and we do not disclose our commercial activities," the guy who took a phone to Legitelecom said in response to both inquiries about Politico's findings and if the business supplied the Russian military. Bigger deal. Positron, a company based in Rostov-on, the southern city briefly taken by warlord Yevgeny Prigozhin's Wagner mercenaries in their unsuccessful uprising last month, imported more than $60 million worth of airsoft helmets, miscellaneous ceramics, and other products from Chinese firm Beijing KR Natural in November and December 2022, according to customs data shared by Import Genius. The declarations also show that Positron purchased a variety of drones from Chinese multinational SZDJI Technology Company, Limited last December. Although the quantity is unclear, the models specified include ones known to have been used in the Ukrainian theater of war, like DJI's Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced Quadcopter or the Mini 2 light weapon. The product descriptions in the declarations and customs records initially seem innocent enough. The airsoft helmets, for instance, are described as being used in paintball games and not for military use, not for dual use. However, sanctions and defense experts claim it is common practice to mislabel dual-use goods for civilian purposes when intended for the battlefield. Positron, which was only established in March 2021, is, in any case, winning the war. According to its financial statement, the company's revenues exploded from 31 million rubles, $400,000, in 2021 to 20 billion rubles, $300 million, in 2022. When contacted by email, Positron's general director, Andrei Vitkovsky, claimed that his company never imported drones and similar products from the People's Republic of China. Vitkovsky added that his company's activities were exclusively peaceful in nature, in compliance with all rules and restrictions, and that the main activity of Positron LLC is the purchase and sale of consumer goods, sporting goods, and fabrics, both produced in the Russian Federation and imported from China. The denial is typical. Russian businesses have good reason to worry about Western sanctions if they are linked to activities that aid the Kremlin's war effort. After Politico reported in March that a company called TechCrim was importing Chinese assault weapons and passing them off as hunting rifles, the firm was sanctioned by the United States. Positron is on the West's radar, according to a sanctions expert who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they are not authorized to. Regarding Beijing KR Natural, Politico was able to locate a business with a similar name at the address provided in the Positron filings. Beijing Natural Hanhua International Trade Company, Limited is listed as a small and micro enterprise. It was established in April 2022, a few months before the Positron deals. Heavenly Mechanics. The orders for drones discovered by Politico are more spread among various purchasers, including companies and people, in contrast to the bulk consignments of protective gear designed to equip a considerable battle force. Along with Positron, other companies that purchase drones from DJI and its affiliates are Nebesnaya Mechanica, Heavenly Mechanics, which was the Chinese company's official distributor in Russia before the war, and Gigant China and Vosduk, neither of which responded to email requests for comment. We stand alone as the only drone company to clearly denounce and actively discourage use of products in combat, the spokesperson said in comments emailed to Politico. We voluntarily stopped all shipments to, and operations in, Russia and Ukraine on April 26, 2022, 2 months after the war broke out. Even though Nebesnaya Mechanica submitted additional declarations for shipments of drones from the Chinese company on March 27 and September 15 of last year, DJI claimed to have severed its ties with the Russian firm. The spokesperson claimed that the declarations of conformity discovered by Politico were not written by DJI in any way. These documents would have been filled out by Russian parties, and they do not in any way indicate who acts or imported the products that are being declared conform, the spokesperson said. The spokesperson continued, however, it is not in our power to influence how our products are used once they leave our control. We have seen media reports and other documents showing how our products are being transported to Russia and Ukraine from other countries where they can be purchased off the shelf. However, a search of Import Genius reveals that a Chinese corporation named iFlight has kept sending DJI drones to Nebesnaya Mechanica via Hong Kong via a local business called Lotus. The newest shipment was delivered on October 10 of last year. Russia is listed as the nation of origin for the loads, which seems strange. Nebesnaya Mechanica did not react to a request for comment even though it still promotes DJI drones on its website. The ambiguity surrounding the dual-use status of this equipment, combined with the fact that a sizable portion of it is produced in China, seems, at least for now, to have put the possibility of the West taking meaningful action beyond reach. The trafficking of low-tech body armor to high-tech drones and thermal optics highlights a vulnerability in the Western sanctions regime. A recent analysis by the KSE Institute, a think tank affiliated with the Kyiv School of Economics, found that Russia is fully aware of the China loophole and is using it to buy Western technology to fight its war against Ukraine. More than 60% of imported crucial components in Russian weapons discovered on the battlefield came from the United States. Then there is the flow of technology through China that may include parts made in the West that could be of direct military use. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken brought up the subject during his first trip to Beijing in 5 years, telling reporters that China had assured him that it is not and will not provide lethal assistance to Russia for use in Ukraine. Blinken also expressed ongoing concerns that Chinese companies might be giving Russia technology it can use to further its aggression in the country. There are indications that they are doing things we would prefer them not to do, Emmanuel Bon, President Emmanuel Macron's top diplomatic advisor, said at the recent Aspen Security Forum. Well, kind of military equipment. As far as we know, they are not delivering massively military capacities to Russia, but we need there to be, there, Bon added. Only the United States would have the genuine power to put an absolute embargo on dollar-denominated transactions, as Washington did when it sanctioned Iran for its covert nuclear program. Thus, the West has little leverage to pressure Beijing into stopping supplies of dual-use goods into Russia. However, because the euro is much less common on international markets, the EU lacks such a potent sanctions tool and has been reluctant to take action. In its most recent set of Russia sanctions last month, the EU compiled a list of 7 Chinese companies that shouldn't be allowed to trade with the bloc. However, after Beijing's lobbying, Brussels removed 4 companies from the bloc list. Secondary sanctions may not be enough, according to Alina Rybakova, one of the report's authors, who called for manufacturers to be forced to take responsibility for where their products end up, similar to how regulators forced banks to increase customer oversight and anti-money laundering operations following the 2008 financial crisis. Director of the international program at the Kyiv School of Economics Rybakova said, "What we can do differently is to create the same infrastructure for the corporates. We have to threaten them with serious fines." Maxim Mironov, a sanctions expert and finance professor at the E-Business School in Madrid, believes that despite expanding sanctions to punish Putin's allies, the West lacks the political conviction to apply them to Beijing. Do politicians have enough will to put sanctions on China? The answer is no, said Mironov. The European Commission, the U.S. National Security Council, and the Chinese mission to the EU did not respond to requests for comment. China signals, "You can try, but I don't care what you are trying to do," Mironov continued. And the European Union is like, "If you don't like it, we will not do it." And if the Chinese see that, they will keep doing what they think is in their best interest.